Good morning, it's Nikki. How are you doing? I have quite a personal one for you today. This is part 1 of 2, and in these episodes, I'm going to be reflecting on the last 12 months and talking about my experience of spending more money than I've ever spent on coaching in a year and doing more work on myself and my business. I know, basically, I know that if I put a really snappy title on this about the money that I've made and how much I spent and all that kind of stuff, I know that it's going to get different views, but you know that I'm not about that. You know that there are far more details to that experience. So I guess if you've come for that Jeremy Kyle version of this, of the money and this is what my coach did do or didn't do or worked really well, actually it's none of that. It's documenting my process that I took, and it's been an emotional one. You can probably hear it in my voice. It's been a big one, but I think it's important to talk about. This year, I have been coaching for 10 years and a decade of work and self-development. And for goodness sake, I've been doing self-development my whole life because I went to drama school and was in a leotard for 3 years. So, that does all kinds of things to your heart, mind and soul, in good ways and in bad ways. But I thought it was really important for me to reflect and share and talk about the behind the scenes, because of course, as a coach, I am selling these experiences. I am welcoming people into my world. I am holding space and committing to working with people for a short period of time or a long period of time. And it's been very important for me that I am doing this work myself. And some of my long-term clients recently have had the most enormous wins, and it just makes me so proud to watch and just to be a small part of that journey. But with that, it hasn't just meant, oh my goodness, I had this enormous win and now the rest of my life is going to be perfect. That's it. No, if anything, it's been a case that they've had to hold on even tighter or feel even stronger in where they're going and be at peace with releasing the stuff that doesn't serve them and that doesn't need to come with them. And when you do that, and when you do that growth, because people always talk about the jazzy stuff of growth, right? They talk about... And I guess this is why I'm going into this, because the internet talks about the jazzy stuff of growth. Like, I just invested in this course and within 2 weeks I had made my investment back. Or I now spend more time with my children. And it's like, yeah, I get those tick boxes things, but there's so much more to it than that. There's so much inner work. There's so many micro steps that actually sometimes can be really hard to... essentially we are building new pathways in our brain, and sometimes we know what it's like if you're digging a hole and you're trying to create new pathways. It can be really difficult to do that, and it feels tough, and the rock feels really hard, and you're trying to get through it and chip away at it. That's what growth is. It's not just the jazzy stuff of like, here I am, a walking primrose. A Girls Aloud song for you there. I wasn't expecting to bring that out, but it's a good one. It's a belter. So another thing I wanted to say is, which I had kind of considered, but my clients have actually said it to me, like, oh, it's so good to know that you are doing this work too. And it's been a really good reminder that yes, it is. And if you're thinking on ever embarking with somebody, whether it's for social media support or VA support or a graphic designer or interiors or, I don't know, a coach, all kinds of things, It's really important that you choose wisely and choose somebody that has, and this investment word comes up a lot. And it's, again, it's one of those words where people go, just invest, invest, invest. It doesn't matter if you've got only £27 left in your bank account, invest, invest, invest. And actually, we know that it's way more detailed in that. And sometimes that investment is time of going, right, I don't have loads of cash at the moment to fully invest in my career, but what I am going to do is invest my time. And sometimes it's that is the currency. Instead of going, I'm just going to do bits of work in the day and then I'm just going to watch trash TV every single night and drink 4 bottles of wine. Wow, 4 bottles of wine. I was going to say I would like to see that. I probably would not. But sometimes it is that investment in time. It's basically making sure that at all times, whether it's financial, whether it's time, whether it's energy, whether it's commitment, that you have some skin in the game if you are there to help other people. So I know this is a safe space because you've probably listened for a while, but it still does feel a bit vulnerable sharing this, but that's what we're here for, right? This is what I've committed to. So I've got 12 points, and I thought that would be good because it's like 12 months, 12-month container, but they're not kind of month 1, I learned this, month 2, because bizarrely, at this time, it was 2020. So I started this journey, the J word, I embarked on working with this coach. So I had my discovery call, essentially, in January 2020. And I did not know what was going to happen in 2020. And that might have been naive. Some people might have been like, did you not see what happened on Twitter? Or are you not following the news in detail? But let's be honest, even if we are accustomed to what's going on in the world, I don't think any of us could quite have predicted what this shit show would look like. That's the only way that I can call it. Of course, there's been some great bits in that, but generally it's turned our world upside down. So I had my discovery call in January. And I had a previous relationship with this person. I was aware of their work. We'd had a couple of conversations previously. She had asked my advice on something else, and we knew each other. So when I got on this discovery call, it wasn't a case of this is brand new information and could you just say how good you are and if you're going to be the person for me, because actually by the time I get on a discovery call with somebody, this is from my perspective, I'm usually about 80% sure, like, yeah, I think this is going to be a match, and the 20% is usually the absolute fear of like, oh my goodness, I've never done something on this scale before. I've never spent that much money, but come on, okay, tell me more details. Okay. And I remember filling out that form and going, right, let's see. Come on, let's make a move. And I was in that January energy of I could have quite easily stayed stuck and tired and, it's a bit dark and gloomy outside. But I knew that I needed it. And this is what I kept coming back to, because I'm sure you have been on people's websites before. I know it. I've done it. I do it all the time. I'm lurking around. I'm seeing what their packages are. I'm considering it. I'm doing the maths. Then I'm getting scared, and then I'm running away. And then I'm considering that it's not maybe meant for me, and maybe there's a more perfect time and all of that stuff. And this is point number 1 that I want to share. In January 2020, the pandemic aside, this is with not all of the information, I allowed myself to sit in a visualization. And this is not some kind of guru type state. I was probably just sitting on the floor of my living room. And I took 2 minutes and I thought, do I want to be in this same situation this time next year? Now, this situation that I was in, unfortunately, if you're, again, listening for that kind of stuff, it wasn't a controversial situation. Life was good. Life was smooth. Things were ticking along. But I kept getting, and this leads me, I guess, partly into point 2 as well. I kept getting that niggle. There's more. Come on. Be brave. Go for it. Something's going. Come on. Stop. And do you know what I was doing? I can't believe I'm admitting this. I was lying to myself. I was saying it was fine and I didn't mind, and I'm so grateful for what I have. And of course, I was all of those things. But I knew I had so much potential, and whether that is somebody showing me how to build a bloody system to do something so it wouldn't take up my time and time again. I knew that there was a bigger version of who I was. And if I'm honest, I was bored of my own stories. Like, come on, what is going, if I don't do anything, you can hear how my brain works, right? And sometimes it's not always kind. Sometimes and this is not how I operate with clients, but in my own brain and how I sit with myself 24/7 for the last nearly 40 years, I just had to start calling myself on my own bullshit, because I was going round and round in circles. I was playing small, I was playing safe, and I was not in the paddling pool, but I was definitely in the infant pool. And it was time to move. It was time to upgrade. And let's be honest, and again, we'll go into a bit more detail here in a while. I was making good money, but I wasn't making great money. I wasn't making money where I just thought, oh my goodness, this feels expansive. And that number is different for different people. But I live in London, and London is one of the most expensive cities in the world. And I want to live. Like, I want to go to the theatre. I want to go out for fancy meals. I want to be able to say, F it, let's go away for the weekend. And the money that I was making, and of course, this is a different thing because I just had a baby. So my working hours were slightly different and things like that. But I did have that realization of, I've been doing this a long time now. I've got so much experience. I'm really skilled at what I do, but there's something missing. There's a gap that I want to explore, and there's something where it felt like there was stuff that I didn't know, and if once I did, that things would be better. So, I'm going to park that thought and I'm going to come back to it, because if you haven't guessed already, it wasn't just the information that I needed. I'll tell you more about that in a second. So point number 1 is I did that knowledge. I did that fast forward. I used that knowledge rather of, do I want to be in the same position a year from now? And sometimes a year is too big. Sometimes a year is a bit of a fantasy thing, actually. People write their goals like, this year I'm going to be working on my fitness. But a year, 365 days, it doesn't necessarily resonate. But if you say on a Sunday night, this week I'm going to eat really healthily, it's much more tangible. You can see what's going on and you can check in with it and really connect with it. So if a year from now doesn't necessarily resonate, ask yourself, do you want to be in the same position a month from now? And really consider what that does. So I had this discovery call, and my mum was with Luna in the other room, because as much as everybody would like to say, I just run my business around my baby, I am running my business around my baby because I'm my 5-year-old, but I'm not doing 2 at the same time all the time, because we know how hard that is. Sometimes it does happen, of course, because there are only so many hours in the day and we're all trying to do the juggle. But generally, if I can have help and support, and my mum was around, and she was able to sit with Luna while I did with this half an hour call. And I remember coming off the call and going, excited, but going, oh God, I'm going to have to do it. It's exactly what I need. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to find a way to make this work. Because something happened on that call where my heart, my inner child, my 7-year-old who's really fearless, You know, that 7-year-old who's like, I'm going to dangle on this tree and I am going to play this game. And do you want to play this? And I'm going to wear all my best clothes that I absolutely love all together and I'm going to do it. And I don't give a monkey's what people think. That 7-year-old kicked in of, come on, let's play, let's do it. And of course, the grown-up version of me, who was 38 at the time and who had a 5-month-old baby and a 4-year-old and was kind of finding her feet in all shapes and sizes of what does work mean? How do I feel being in recovery after having a baby? Nothing dramatic particularly, but it takes a time of adjustment. The current situation on paper didn't say that this was the right decision. And this is when you have to tune into both. Because my heart, my soul, my instinct, my gut, whatever you like to call it, was saying, go on, do it, yes, yes, yes. And I have learned to listen to that. And I should say, I knew that I could make of this this was a safe decision for me. And I think this is really important, that I knew that I had the resources that I would be able to make that monthly payment. I knew that I would be able to find a way. I knew that I was resourceful. I guess that's what I should say as well. So even though I ummed and ahed about this, and I did, and I took a weekend to think about it, and we were actually away. We were in the middle of nowhere. We went to a farm, and I sort of, it was really great timing for me, actually, because it allowed me to sit in that space of what if, and if I do, and if I don't, and what do I need to gain, and get really clear. So I had my discovery call, and then I think it was like a week later I'd kind of decided, and I actually had a second call just to confirm, because again, this is really important that you make sure that you do your due diligence. And this is point number 3. When I knew that I needed to embark on some kind of situation, I mean, I am marketed to, not because I'm special, but because I'm on the internet, I am marketed to all day, every day, by so many coaches, service providers, people who can help me and help me build the life of my dreams. So I'm never short of people out there who I know of who could help me. But what I had to do was get really specific on what my brief is. So starting there is a really good thing that I want to share in terms of writing what your Christmas list is or writing what your wish list is, because this is not a time for I don't mind. I mean, whatever, what do you think? What do you have on offer? No, it's likely that you're going to be spending a lot of money in these circumstances. So you have to be really clear about what it is that you want and that you need. Now, my wish list was very clear, actually, in terms of what I needed. I felt like I really needed strategy. I needed predictability. I needed support with my mindset. Because I don't know if it was tiredness, I don't know if it was pregnancy, I don't know if it was age and stage, but I felt a bit stuck in my head. I felt like I needed to somebody to tap out my potential a little bit and remind me of who I was. Now, I know these things are big wish lists, of course, but again, I was paying a lot of money and I was willing to pay a lot of money for this situation. So I had to be really clear in my mind what I needed from this experience. Also, I should just say at this stage, and I'm not going to share numbers, but I have earned significantly more money this year, and therefore I'm going to be paying a much bigger tax bill. And that's important to say as well. So this is not just about like, oh, I've bought some new shoes. I was going to say Louboutins. I mean, my goodness, where do I think that I'm going? I wouldn't be able to walk in them. Some of the shoes that I've got in my wardrobe, I'm like, who bought that? What? Oh, wow. But, I will be putting money back into the system. And that's really important to say. And that is about leadership. That's about entrepreneurship as well in terms of contributing. So, and the reason that I'm saying this, and I'm not going to say that all coaches are going to give you, all service providers are going to give you a hard sell, and you got to watch out, because if you do a discovery call, people are going to sell to you. Of course, the whole point of having a discovery call is not just a casual chat. And anybody who thinks that that's what it is, like, it's just a bit of a free advice, it isn't. And you should go with the intention that this person at the end of it may say, here's how we can work together. And equally, if you're the service provider talking in terms of your discovery call, make sure that you say, this is an introduction and this is how we can work together. So this is not just a free chit-chat, because I've done those discovery calls and people go, oh my goodness, I've had so many terrible ones. This is like at the beginning of my coaching where people went, I definitely haven't got any money for coaching, but I just wanted to get a bit of free advice, really. And you're like, oh no, oh gosh, right. So discovery calls. I think it's really important, because otherwise what might happen is you get really hyped up on the call and people promise all kinds of things, and you get to a point where you sign up for something, you go, no, that's not actually what I needed. So be really clear about your brief. And sometimes, again, I should say this, be really clear about what it is that you actually want, and be dedicated in leading yourself further towards that situation. And that sometimes means that you wait, that it takes a bit longer to actually get to the place where you need to get to. So this is something that I apply very much in my life now. I don't just buy things in the short term, or I don't just buy things for the sake of it. I'm very discerning about, right, what is the thing that I actually want? And then I make a plan to move towards that. So even though that might be the more expensive thing, or the thing that rarely comes into stock, or whatever it might be, I am committed to actually buying and purchasing the things that I want, and not just, dabbling willy-nilly, being in the game. Number 4, the power of a container. Knowing that once I'd signed that contract, because that's what we're talking about here, we're talking about big contracts, we're talking about monthly payouts every single month, we're talking about legally binding agreements and actually doing the work. There was, even though there was a bit of fear and I paid my first month, there was a sense of relief. There was a sense of relief that I had created a container that I knew for the next year ahead that I was going to have the support that I needed. And I felt so proud of myself that I bet on myself enough that I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pay on time, and I'm going to do the work, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to do this. No more like, I'll do it if I feel like it, or I'll just do it this month and I'll just see. Because I had made that commitment, because I knew that financial commitment was going out of my bank account every single month, I was all in. And sometimes that's what it takes. Some people can say, I am so motivated and so driven every single day, I don't need the support of other people. Great. If that's you, you do you. And generally, I am a very motivated, self-motivated person. But I know, had I not had this container in 2020, and given where I was at the beginning of 2020, I could have so easily have spiraled. I could have so easily got so consumed by the news. Should I be selling? Should I be doing this? Self-doubt. I'm so tired. I feel this. I feel like I could have gone down that path. And that's not to say I'm dead inside or not paying attention or not sympathetic to other people who are in that situation. But I knew that whatever happened, I knew that I had to step things up. I had to step things up for my family as well. I cooked one for 9 months, but I had 2 children. We are both freelance in this house, and it's not just a case of like, I'm just not really feeling up to it today. Like, we have commitments, we have things that we need to do. And that power of container, oh my goodness, it was game changing. So stretching a year ahead and knowing that I would be supportive is something I will do again. And as much as powerful, and I've had great transformations in a power hour or whatever it might be, great. But what happens after then? And what is the long-term plan? How does that fit in? And is your development being constantly nurtured, taken care of? Are you implementing? Or are you one of these people, which is somebody that I definitely used to be, where I was like, I'll do it for a month and I'll see how I go. And I'll reward myself. Like, I was so clever doing something for a month, and now I'm going to take my foot off the gas. And now what I'm interested in is, how can I keep my foot semi on the gas all the time, but also allow myself to get into that cruise mode, baby, and enjoy the process as well. So I'm not having that, screechy up to 5 gear and then feeling burnt out and I have to pause because I've overheated the car. This is about continuously being consistent. Interesting. Number 5, the power of a decision. Once I'd made that decision, as I've spoken about it, things changed. Things shifted. It was literally, we know what happens. Like, if you drop something in water, if you change the state of something, that has a ripple effect. So, as you have probably heard on the internet, and this often happens as well, new clients came, new opportunities, people saying, we've got this budget, is that okay? Sometimes it was budgets that were bigger than I've ever had before. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. Oh, the power of decision, hey, because there was something about me that had stepped up. And also that meant, like what I was saying earlier, is once you step up, other stuff has to fall away. So you have to really consider what's not going to serve you, and it starts to fall, and you start to reveal what the next I can never say that word. I'm going to move on. The next version of the picture, what it's going to look like. So it starts to fall away, like the new version of the sculpture. And again, sometimes it's difficult. You have to have different conversations. You have to say that you're not available for stuff anymore. You have to close certain doors. And that power of decision is really powerful. So the fact that I was in there, I was like, I am doing this, that shifted my energy big time. Equally, there is a power of scheduling as well. And I knew that I was only going to get the results that I wanted and I deserved and that I was going to be capable of if I actually scheduled to do the work. So when I'm working with coaching clients, it's one of the things that I ask, like, are you actually going to do this thing? Because I don't necessarily just want to support somebody in the room and then say, right, good luck, off you go. And we'll see you next session. And I never want that next session to be like, gosh, I haven't done any of the things that we mentioned. I want people to actually do the work, because that's how you get the results. So that power of implementation, that power of scheduling, and that involves conversations in your house sometimes of like, I am bringing this course, I'm bringing this relationship into our home, into my business, and I'm going to need to make some changes to accommodate that. I've spoken about this before, isn't it? Like, if you want to get a brand new sofa and it's a big whopping corner sofa, you have to measure it and make sure that you can fit it in the room, and maybe move some other furniture about and take care of it and give it the space that it needs. So that was very interesting, because also I realized very quickly I couldn't just rest on my laurels of, well, I've made a decision now, I've made a commitment, I've paid my next monthly installment. No, I actually had to do the work, I had to schedule it, I had to get the thing done. The final thing I want to talk about today, and this has been the trickiest, I would say, in this whole process, is you have to do your own work too. So as I massively up-leveled, my goodness me, I had to heal so much stuff. So you will have seen me on Instagram, if you follow me there. I've been running a lot. I've been moving a lot because I've had a lot to process. And it's really difficult sometimes when people just say, I completed these 3 modules and within seconds I was doing this. Because it usually, unless you are a bit of a robot and not empathetic and can just do the strategy and just automatically believe in yourself and just think you're amazing, that is not most of us. Most of us have to take some time to adjust to the new version of ourselves and make it so it all lines up. And in order to progress, I had to heal some stuff, some old limiting beliefs, some things in my life that I hadn't dealt with, some obstacles that were coming up again and again. Like, why is this thing? Why is this holding me back? Why am I finding this struggle at this point in time? And that's painful at times. And I'm not going to pretend that it isn't, because it is. And if you're of a similar age to me, or actually it doesn't matter about age, but it's likely that you've weathered a few storms, or maybe there's been a few things that have been locked away for a long time and you haven't dealt with it. And when you go through a big shift of up leveling, it's almost like you get a software upgrade and your computer, aka your brain, points out all the faults. This isn't working. This isn't in alignment. This is old software that needs to just go and be eradicated. But sometimes those things are really deep and they are so part of who you are, even though they're not of who you really are, but they've been a badge of honor, or they've been stuck in there in some way. So I had to realize pretty quickly that I would have to move, that I'd have to process. And definitely there are more tools that I want to use and explore this year, because what has happened through this process is I have a much bigger vision for my life. And that feels quite bold to say that, because that isn't the current circumstances in terms of the conversation that people are having. But I do have a bold vision for my life, and I want you to have a bold vision for your life. And this is not just about doing things bigger and better and snazzier. This is about actually leaning into what it is that you want and paying attention to it and making steps every single day to move towards that version. Because life is now, and we really realize that. We're acutely aware of it, because not everybody has been so lucky. So there we are. This is point number 6, and this is where I'm going to close for today. Do come back on Friday, and if in the meantime you have any questions about this, do let me know. I'd be very happy to answer them. Or if you have any questions about anything actually that I talk about, maybe I'll do a Q&A or something like that. It might be really awkward. Nobody might ask me a question at all, in which case we'll never talk about this again. But yeah, if you do have a question, maybe it'll come up in my upcoming Q&A, or maybe not. We'll see how we go. So there we are. That's my first 6. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope you've got something from them, and I hope you do something with it. Maybe you are on the fence and going, yeah, that feels like me. It does feel like when I fast forward to a year from now, I actually don't want to be doing the same things and operating in the same way. So if that's you, come and have a chat with me. Let's have a discovery call. And I will say right now, if I have a discovery call with somebody, I do make you fill out a form in advance, and I do share afterwards how I can support you. Or sometimes I don't. Sometimes I say, I don't know if I'm the right person for you, but this could be an alternative. So I'm very transparent. I'm very honest in that situation. If I can't help, I will absolutely say so, because what's the point, hey, of saying, oh yeah, I can help you, and then session 1 you're like, oh no, I don't think she can. Anyway, that went a bit negative at the end. If I can help, I will. La, 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 la. Okay, have a lovely day, whatever you're doing. Sending you lots of love, and I'll speak to you on Friday. Bye.